fighting games don't reward skill anymore. You've heard that line before, right? It's been parroted for at least the last 5 to maybe 15 years. Every time a new mechanic drops, every time the system saves someone who should have died, Drive Rush, Drive Impact, Tekken's Heat Smash, Mortal Kombat's Fatal Blow, different franchises, same complaint. Let me define this cleanly. When I say skill, I mean decision clarity, correct choices leading to consistent outcomes, and mistakes that get punished without the system stepping in to rescue you. There is a growing sentiment that fighting games don't reward decision making anymore. They reward moments. And because of that, people keep pointing to the same place for salvation: Virtua Fighter. The so-called last bastion of honesty, the grandfather of modern 3D fighters, the same game where correct decisions get paid immediately and mistakes get punished with no excuses. And I hate to burst your bubble, Virtua Fighter won't save you. Not because it isn't good, not because Sega forgot how to design systems, but because the world Virtua Fighter was built for doesn't exist anymore. Here on Shocking Cost TV, we don't take sides, we follow the money. So let's follow the mechanics, the history, and the economics and explain why modern fighting games stopped rewarding skill and why honesty became a losing business model. We have to go back to 1993 when Yu Suzuki and AM2 were trying to build a fighting game as much as they were trying to build a simulation that could fight. In 1993, Street Fighter II was the king of the world. It was a game about magic, plasma hands, helicopter kicks. Virtua Fighter, on the other hand, was the rejection of magic. When AM2 built Model 1, they weren't thinking like a traditional 2D fighter. They weren't just drawing hitboxes, they were thinking in terms of weight transfer, inertia, balance. VF1 was the sim-born prototype. Then VF2 hit in 1994 on Model 2 and turned the formula into an arcade monster. Even Virtua Fighter's modern producer, Seiji Aoki, has described how the franchise started as life-chasing realism, which is why it historically avoided flashy effects. If your game's DNA is simulation first, then every modern design trend that sells games, meters, slow motion, cinematic camera angles, it all starts to feel like contamination and thus betrayal. They effectively built a religion that one can only think of as honesty. No bailout mechanics, no cinematic excuses, no systems that allow you to skip neutral completely. But while Virtua Fighter was perfecting a conversation, the rest of the industry was learning how to shout. But it never adopted the modern safety nets other fighting games started selling. While competitors chased spectacle and volatility, Virtua Fighter kept solving one variable: competitive clarity. And that right there raises the question that purists avoid answering. Did Virtua Fighter stop evolving, or did the market stop rewarding what it had evolved into? Virtua Fighter was built for the arcade economy, and in that era, fair wasn't just philosophy, it was profitable. You lose, you understand why, you pay, and you run it back. Then the arcade economy collapsed in the West. By the late 2000s, fighting games moved to the consoles and then into the attention economy, where the currency is now time. And that's where honesty breaks. Because honesty is invisible from a distance. High-level Virtua Fighter, fuzzy guards, evade cancels, micro-spacing, looks like two people twitching and jab checking, but it's pretty dry for most people to watch. Virtua Fighter refused to perform for the crowd, and the market has clearly punished it. I know some of you might say that. 3D fighters don't need meters, we don't need explosions, we need a modern game with honest rules. And the community will rally around it, right? Cool. We tested that. We have a control group, and I think that was called Dead or Alive 5. Now let me be precise. DOA 5 wasn't a pure monk game. Yes, it had power blows, cinematic momentum swings that show up when you're hurt. And that's the point. Even a 3D fighter that leans harder into reads based spacing still couldn't make fundamentals the entire product. Mechanically, DOA 5 was strong. It demanded hard decisions, real reads, real consequences, and it still didn't become a durable modern ecosystem. If you think Street Fighter 4 invented combat mechanics, congratulations, you've been lied to. The idea is actually much older and a lot simpler, and once the genre learned that pain can be turned into spectacle, the business incentives get ugly really fast. 1992, SNK writes the first mainstream rulebook. The first clean recognizable version of the panic button shows up in SNK's early 90s output. Art of Fighting in 1992 introduces desperation attacks, special moves that can only be available when your health drops low enough that your life bar starts flashing. Fatal Fury 2, released in 1992, doubles down with clearer execution. Samurai Showdown would then step into the ring in 1993 and it turns pain into power. Instead of unlocking a move at low life, the game introduces a visible rage or POW gauge that rises as you take damage. When it fills, your character enters a temporary powered up state. Damage increases, pressure gets scarier, momentum flips really fast. Different delivery, same message. The King of Fighters 94 would then mass produce this philosophy. Meanwhile, Killer Instinct in 1994 introduces a different kind of low health changes the game mechanic. By the late 90s, combat design is no longer an SNK quirk, it's just another part of the business. Bloody Roar in 1997 popularizes transformation mechanics where taking hits and damage dealt feed access to a beast form. CVS2 in 2001 directly imports the Samurai Showdown rage philosophy with K-Groove. Just before Street Fighter 4 arrives, Tekken 6 via the 2007 arcade introduces Rage, a low health damage boost designed to make late round moments explode. And by the time Street Fighter 4 hits the streets, the genre has already normalized around one idea. If you're close to losing, the game should make you dangerous. Street Fighter 4 doesn't invent the combat mechanic, it industrializes it. And when this titanic shift happens in 2008, the genre revived back from the dead, Street Fighter 4 becomes the modern reference point, and it's essentially hard-coded 2 lessons into the entire industry. Getting punched in the face should give you access to a giant gun. And second, fighting games should introduce mechanics that not only give you power-ups, but should give you life insurance. In older games, if you whiff a DP, you die. In Street Fighter 4, if you have resources, you can often pay to soften the punishment. Let's actually take a look at the numbers. We know that publishers don't greenlight integrity and artistry, they greenlight systems that fund ongoing support. Mortal Kombat is an empire franchise and over 80+ million sales. Tekken is over 61 million, Street Fighter is over 56 million, and Virtua Fighter? VF5 Ultimate Showdown cleared over 10 million downloads, but reach isn't the same as self-sustaining live service ecosystem. Here's the honest version. Virtua Fighter is a legacy titan with a niche footprint in recurring spending. While the other big franchises operate at a scale that can fund seasons, esports, and content treadmills, the big three aren't just games, they're ecosystems, seasons, DLC passes, cosmetics, events, collaborations, storefronts, and constant reasons for players to come back. Virtua Fighter isn't built like that. You can't sell sexy DLCs if your entire brand is grounded in martial arts realism, and you can't fund years of content of reward loops that basically amounts to just get good. Virtua Fighter isn't failing as game design, it's failing as a modern revenue engine. In Japan, Virtua Fighter is still alive. Its culture, it's a handshake. The legacy runs deep that the game persists through respect. But in the West, it's a ghost town. When VF5 Ultimate Showdown dropped in 2021 on PlayStation Plus, that proves the surface level interest was real. But what didn't follow was a sustained player base. And Harada led a Virtua Fighter special around Ultimate Showdown, which basically confirms what the numbers imply. A huge chunk of those downloads weren't new blood, It was returning players, people who hadn't touched VF in years. They came back to check out if it was still as good as they remembered.
11年ですね。
発表までは10年だけど
FT からは
出たのは
FS か
11年ですよ。
FS からは10年ですね。11年ですね。
いやだってストリートファイターでさえ読んでるまでに10年かかって、バーチャ11年待つと思わなかったね。まあこの間もね番組
そうそう
話しましたけど、
バーチャの発表が5月末にあって、
はい。
Now look at it from Sega's perspective. Their reliable moneymakers aren't Virtua Fighter. It's Sonic, Like a Dragon, Persona. We're talking brands that can consistently justify big marketing and predictable returns. If you look on the other side, Tekken always feels like it's one failure away from being scrapped as a franchise. Yet Tekken 4 almost killed the franchise. Tekken 5 would then bring it back. The incredible success of Tekken 7 was what allowed Harada to plead his case for Bandai Namco to greenlight another massive check for Tekken 8. And when you jump back to Sega, taking a step into their shoes, that completely changes the conversation around every future greenlight. That's why Ultimate Showdown made sense as a controlled test, modern delivery, limited scope. Virtua Fighter didn't go quiet. It missed an entire era where fighting games reinvented themselves into spectacle-first ecosystems. So when fans say, Virtua Fighter is coming back to save the genre, what they really mean is, please let my childhood have one more comeback story. But the issue is, does the demand and audience for this actually exist on a global world scale? And this is where Seiji Aoki's comments matter. He describes the road to a new Virtua Fighter as difficult and emphasized that a new entry has to serve a worldwide audience, not just Japan. Translation: Japan treats Virtua Fighter like an arcade handshake, where the rest of the planet treats it like homework. Many fighting games have had to make that transition from controlled environment testing to a global world rollout. Tekken would famously feel that struggle when for the first time they went from releasing in a controlled environment to now having to release Tekken 8 on a global scale for everyone. The point is, to go global, you often need modern online expectations, modern presentations, but modernization also risks killing your loyal base. And that is the paradox. To succeed in the modern era, the game must change. If it changes, the loyal fanbase revolts. So the safest move is to do nothing. And doing nothing can also get you left behind. Maybe you're still coping. Maybe you think that your game will be the exception. I'm sorry to tell you that it's not. Here's the honesty index, the moment each giant crossed the line. SF4 in 2008 gave you the Ultra mechanic. It also introduced FADC to sometimes buy your way out of punishment. Street Fighter 6 would introduce Drive Impact, Drive Rush, and as well as other mechanics. Street Fighter 6 turned neutral into a meter economy with drive system. From Mortal Kombat 9 onwards, the franchise became a cinematic product, fatal blows, armor, huge damage. Tekken 7 introduced rage arts and armor. Tekken 8 would go full cracked out with heat systems that force complete aggression and extends the offense even when the defense is correct. The point is, every major franchise crossed the river. They didn't do it for the art, they did it to survive. Virtua Fighter is the one still standing on the old side, and that's why it's alone. Sega has confirmed a new Virtua Fighter project in development. The messaging has basically been, it's growing quietly, and when they're ready, you'll see more. So I wouldn't expect drip feed updates, I'd probably expect one giant reveal. And I think that's because they're staring at two roads, and both decisions hurt. Road A. They could go the traditional VF route, have it play like VF5 with modern graphics and it sells to the hardcore fans, and it might win some awards for balance. And sadly it dies fast because it doesn't generate enough long-term revenue and the casuals will eventually bounce. It will become a boutique product. Road B is to join the modernization arms race. They'll add a modern system state, they'll add supers, they'll probably sell a lot of passes, and there's a high probability of adding DLC characters like Kiryu Kazuma as guest characters. They'll save the body, but they'll kill the soul, trying to chase the Tekken audience and become a worse version of Tekken. We've already seen the pressure. The new r.e.v.o release on Steam has paid DLC characters. Dural is now a paid DLC. Yes, Sega explicitly excludes her from official Sega tournaments, and they're also running the official Virtua Fighter Open Championship with regional qualifiers and a $100,000 grand prize. This is the cost of survival in the modern era. Stay pure and get ignored, or modernize and stop being Virtua Fighter. Because for Virtua Fighter to gain the world, it must lose its soul.